Hey, everybody, the most wonderful time of the year is upon us right now. It's the holiday season. And depending on when you're listening to this, it's already started, or you might be in the midst of it, or even a little bit after. But for most people, the holidays are exciting. We can't wait for the break. We can't wait for all of the traditions and things involved with it. But holidays can also provoke a bit of anxiety. And some of that anxiety can be around the inevitable weight gain that we feel like is upon us. There's just a common conception that over the holidays, we're going to gain weight. We're going to be in a lot of social settings and parties where there's going to be food that we can't resist. But let's talk about having a more balanced approach so that we can enjoy the holidays. Welcome to the Holy Well Journey podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Hodges. Join us for weekly faith-based conversations on holistic health to uncover practical tips for how to thrive and apply biblical wisdom to our busy modern lives. From fitness to food to fasting, we're here to discover what it means to have a healthy spirit, soul, and body. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. So let's start out first talking about this idea of, is it even true that everybody gains weight over the holidays? I've seen some articles and studies that say people gain an average of 9 pounds over the holidays, but I don't think that's probably accurate. What other studies and research reviews have shown is that most people end up gaining about 0.8 pounds to under 2 pounds. So that doesn't sound like a lot of weight. That could just feel like bloating. It could be something that's hard to even notice. But what becomes a problem is that if you gain a pound or two every single year without losing it, then over the course of a decade, you're 10 to 20 pounds heavier than where you started. So part of it is having some moderation and making sure that we also get back to our good set point, our good healthy point of where we want to be. And there's some ways to do that that are not going to make you feel deprived and make you feel like you're missing out. But we have to have a good mindset around what are we choosing to do versus what are we just absorbing from the culture and the environment around us. Because I noticed immediately on November 1st, tons and tons of ads promoting stuff to buy, presents, gifts. It's just like so much and so over the top. It just takes some of the joy out of it for me because it feels like all we're supposed to do is buy more things and do more things. And really, what is the purpose of the holidays? So we know it's not all about food. For believers, it's about celebrating the birth of Christ. For many of us culturally, it's about celebrating with our families. And yes, food is a key and central point to a lot of those celebrations, but it's not the main thing. And sometimes it's just a mental shift we need to make in our own minds that food is not the main thing about the celebration. So I don't need to be trying so hard to control what food is there. I don't need to be so worried about what type of food that I'm going to encounter. And I need to just put my focus on the right thing through this holiday season. So one of the most common things I hear from people I coach is just trying to get out of this all or nothing mindset when it comes to diet mentality. And it's feeling like, okay, either I'm on track, I'm doing my workouts, I'm eating the way I want to be eating. But if something throws me off, like I get sick, I go on vacation, I have too much stress at work, or holidays come up, then it feels like I'm just completely off. And that's one false mindset that we just have to get out of. It's not always going to be perfect, and we're not always going to have control over everything. So shifting from that idea of being on programs versus off programs to what type of healthy lifestyle am I trying to cultivate? And a healthy lifestyle is an accumulation of healthy habits. And yes, the more healthy habits we have, the better we're going to feel, the more energy we're going to have, and the more likely we are to see all of those measures, whether it's weight on the scale or it's our blood pressure or cholesterol or any of those numbers that we account for are going to be in a healthier range. So we have to get out of that mindset that like, if I go into this holiday party or this family dinner and I overeat, that's going to ruin everything. It's not. One day is not enough to ruin anything. Okay, so it's like, it would be nice because the converse of that, well, I'm not saying to say that it would be nice to ruin everything, but the converse of it would be, hey, if I ate really healthy for one day, then I would lose a ton of weight and have, a supermodel bikini body. Well, we know that's not true. And neither is it true that if we overindulge for one day, that's going to throw everything off track. It's really about the accumulation of those habits that you're doing over time. What is your day-to-day looking like? So let's talk about that in light of the holidays. The holidays are actually going by much quicker than we might realize. We're only really talking about 2 months. It sometimes might feel longer than that, but that's partly because we start seeing Christmas stuff in the stores around September, and Halloween candy is there, as soon as school starts. So those are parts where we have to navigate our environment to set ourselves up for success. So keeping that mindset that it's not all or nothing, but it's about those daily habits. You may be in a different place with your habits than what you would ideally like to be right now. And so it's easy to say, okay, well, there's only 2 more months, so I'm just going to ride it out till the end of the year and then start in January. But that's not where we want to be. There's a place to meet in the middle. And when it comes to holiday eating that's enjoyable and doable, mindful eating is one of the biggest factors. And that means that whatever we're eating on purpose. It's not that we walk into the store and say, oh, I have to buy 2 bags of that candy because it's red, silver, and green. It's for the holidays. And then I keep it in my house for 2 months and eat it every single day. That's not setting ourselves up for success, because that's where a lot of mindless munching comes in. So being intentional about choosing those things that we truly want to eat in the right amounts is important. And that matters in the day-to-day, and it also matters when you go to that party, when you go to that event. You don't have to say no to everything, but you can't say yes to everything in a huge amount. So part of mindful eating is about choosing what to eat. And then the other big factor in mindful eating strategies is eating only until you're full and making sure that you're paying attention to your body, you're paying attention to your hunger signals. And when you get to that point that you're not hungry anymore, that's the time to stop, or at least take a break, if nothing else. And we can remember that too, is that the food is usually going to be there whenever we want it. So we need to put in some mindful pauses for ourselves. We need to make sure that we have breaks, whether it's at the party itself or on the holiday or in those times in between. So here's a tip for you, is to rank the foods that you most love and enjoy on a holiday meal. And that might be when you go to your aunt's house for Thanksgiving, or it might be your mom's house for Christmas, or even things you make with your own family. And just rank and think, okay, what are the things that I most enjoy? You can make room for those. So the other things that come up, they don't all have to go in your mouth. And here's the thing that mindful eating does. It gives us permission to be intentional and to enjoy without feeling guilty or having that little voice in the back of your head that says, oh no, I really shouldn't be eating this and I'm somehow cheating or I'm somehow doing damage. You want to have that feeling of freedom in your eating habits, because the food is not controlling you, but you are the one that's being intentional about what you eat. Hey, it's Stephanie, and I just wanted to jump in real quick and ask for a really small favor that will have a very big impact. And that's for you to go to the show and leave a rating or review. These positive reviews and ratings help to ensure that more people are able to find the podcast. I so appreciate your support and the time you spend listening to the Holy Well Journey podcast. Let's get back to it. So that's a little bit more big picture with the mindful eating, but you may have heard a lot of these practical tips. I feel like you can find them anywhere, so I'm going to be really brief on it. But when you're in these holiday seasons, when you're navigating these special events, number one, make sure you drink a lot of water. Make sure you're staying really well hydrated. The second part to that is making sure that you're not drinking all your calories. So that can be through alcohol, it can be through sugary things like hot chocolates and eggnogs. Just be aware of how many calories are in what you're drinking. And the thing with alcohol is that it's not just about the calories in that actual beverage, but it's also how much does it lower your inhibitions. If you have a drink or two, is that then affecting that you're eating a lot more than what you had intended? So those are some things to keep in mind. A third tip is to focus on your veggies, and that can be the day that you're going somewhere, but it can also be at a party. If you're eating veggies and you're filling up on that, that's going to set you up for success. The things that you have to keep in mind that you need to be watching your portion sizes on would be desserts. They would be the high carb foods. So the more you can focus on veggies and then again, protein, those are the things that keep you full. Another tip here is to not put yourself on an extreme swing where you're trying to starve yourself or save and reserve all your calories for one big thing. So it's okay to cut back a little bit the day that you know you're going to have a really big midday meal or dinner or be going to a party. It's wise to be making sure that you're eating a little bit less during the day, but don't put yourself on this extreme swing back and forth where you're starving yourself half the time and then stuffing yourself at the other times. You will actually find you're able to make better choices if you aren't ravenously hungry. So that's an important factor, is that you're still eating well in the time leading up. Finally, it's making sure that you are eating well 80 to 90% of the time. And by eating well, I mean sticking to what's a moderate meal plan, moderate portion sizes, healthy whole foods, all of those ways that you would normally want to eat. The holidays really don't overtake every meal. So keep doing the same thing in the day-to-day as far as doing your meal planning, doing your grocery shopping, doing some food prep so that you have good, healthy lunches throughout the week, choosing the right things for breakfast. These are all things that we can continue to do throughout the holidays. So I want to close out by giving 5 little tips here about how to avoid holiday weight gain without missing out on the fun. And the first one is, when it comes to exercise, physical activity, that can go a really long way to making some room for you eating things that you wouldn't normally eat. So if you currently exercise and you have a good routine there, that's great. Make it a priority. Continue to make time for it. But the number one tip that I would have as far as your physical activity during this time is to set yourself a step goal. You might have a smartwatch or a pedometer, or you can easily buy an inexpensive pedometer to track your steps throughout the day. And with those things, those different devices syncing to an app, you can kind of see what your average is and then try to hit at least your average or maybe more so. Now, step goals are great all the time, but especially in these times of year when you're very busy and you might have a lot of chores to do, you might have extra errands, you might be going to the store to go shopping. That can eat up the time that you have available to go to the gym or to do a workout, but you can still be really physically active during that time. And remember, if we were just physically active all the time in our lifestyle, we wouldn't necessarily have to be creating exercise to do or creating, gym machines if that was just part of our normal lifestyle. But it's because we become so sedentary that we really need exercise. And so you can get that physical activity in just through your daily activities and all of the things that you're doing. And during these times of years when you're extra busy, it's a great way to do it in a way that's not going to feel overwhelming and stressful, like I have this one more chore or thing to check off of my to-do list. The second point is to get good sleep. I harp on sleep all the time because it's so important, and I'm so amazed how many people are not getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night, which is the recommendation. So when you're not sleeping, your cravings can be bananas. And those will be cravings for sugary things, for high carb things. And then with all that's around you during this time, it's just not a good recipe for success. Sleep also helps you to lose weight and burn fat. Okay, so that's a whole other topic. That's not really what we're talking about during this time. We're talking about maintaining during this time. But still, nevertheless, just know that sleep is so important for your metabolism. It's important for your mental health. It's important in every way. So don't skimp on that, even if you're really busy this time of year. The third tip is to be very clear about what are special occasions versus your day-to-day. And this is what I was talking about earlier about like bringing the extra candy into the house. Or if you're having a party or you go to a party, bringing home leftovers and then having them there throughout the entire week. Because it's one thing to go and treat yourself and intentionally enjoy yourself at a one-time event. But then if that continues every day, that you're having those extra sweets, that extra sugar, those extra calories 5 days a week, or also on the weekends, blending into 7 days a week, that's where the weight is going to creep up. That's where you're going to be getting yourself into a habit that's harder to break. So it's very hard, I know, to throw away food and feel wasteful. But if you can give all that food away to other people and not keep it in your house, not bring it into your own kitchen, that is going to help you so much to, again, maintain the healthy day-to-day eating habits so that the holidays are not overtaking every meal throughout the months of November and December. The fourth one is to acknowledge the emotions that you're experiencing. So this could be either positive or negative emotions. Like I said in the beginning, for some people, holidays feel very stressful because it feels like there is so much to do. So that can provoke a little bit of anxiety. For other people, it may be that this is your first time through the holidays after losing someone that you love. So that can bring up some very raw feelings that you have not gone through a Christmas without that special person in your life there. There's other things too that can just be memories from holidays, good or bad sometimes. There can be anxiety around family members or other people that come into your life during this time. There can be traveling, which carries a lot of things with it in terms of extra to do. So just be fair with yourself. Acknowledge what you're actually feeling. And sometimes, we can feel guilty about that at a time of year like Christmas. It's the most wonderful time of the year. We're all supposed to be happy. We're all supposed to be joyful. And what if you're not? Well, just being able to acknowledge it to yourself is a good first step. And the second is finding someone to talk to about it, someone to process through it with. And just acknowledging all the complexities of whatever it may be that you're feeling and why you're feeling that way. The final tip I'm going to give you is be the boss of your own life. So again, you're going to walk through the store and there's going to be all kinds of stuff all over the place. There's going to be ideas all over your Pinterest feeds or your Google searches suggesting different things that you should make and different things that you can do. But just remember that you don't have to fall into this wheel of always having to do more things or defining what the holidays have to be. You are the boss of your own life, and you do have the ability to say no to certain things. You have the ability to set boundaries for yourself. And there's an exciting level to which you and your family can define what are the holidays going to mean for you. Maybe not what everybody else is saying they have to be and that you have to do all these extra things, but maybe you have the right to simplify. So being able to decide that for yourself is really important. And it goes beyond just the food and the exercise and the weight stuff, because maybe it is a part of it. Maybe you don't want every celebration to be just about food or about gifts, but maybe it's about playing games. Maybe it's about doing an activity, going for a walk or a hike, or if you're in a snowy place, some kind of snowy activity. There are other ways that we can celebrate beyond the food. So the big takeaway is that holidays should be an enjoyable time, not a stressful time. They shouldn't be adding more to you. And whether that's in the way of physical weight and pounds on the scale that feels like it's loading you down, or whether it's all the to-dos and the anxiety that brings. But don't be afraid to reinvent for yourself this year what holidays are going to look like. They can be just a time that you're as healthy as you've ever been, that your mind is clear, that you're focused on the right things. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Holy Well Journey podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, and you can also head over to holywelljourney.com to check out the show notes and the whole podcast library. That's also where you'll find information about our health and wellness coaching, which you can participate in online from wherever you are in the world. Just a reminder and disclaimer that this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for medical advice or professional counseling. Please be sure to consult your doctor before making any changes to your diet or exercise plan or starting to fast. If you're interested in more information about fasting and spiritual disciplines, check out danielfastjourney.com. Thanks for joining us on this journey to becoming wholly well.